Hello, welcome to United Nations Day. I'm Alex Amicarelli, and today we celebrate the United Nations Day with Taiji Men. United Nations Day is on the 24th of October every year to celebrate the entry into force of the United Nations Charter, which was passed on the 26th of June 1945 and entered into force 24th of October 1945. Today, we celebrate this important United Nations Day with our Taiji Men friends to talk about their case. And today's seminar topic is Internationalizing the Taiji Men case. As always, in our webinar about Taiji Men case, we will follow the same established format of having speeches, testimonies, and some videos that will show important moments in the case of Taiji Men. So without further ado, let's start with a message from the United Nations Secretary General, please.
The United Nations is the product of hope. The hope and resolve following the Second World War to move beyond global conflict to global cooperation. Today, our organization is being tested like never before. But the United Nations was made for moments like these. Now more than ever, we need to bring to life the values and principles of the UN Charter in every corner of the world. By giving peace a chance and ending conflicts that jeopardize lives, futures, and global progress. By working to end extreme poverty, reduce inequalities, and rescue the Sustainable Development Goals. By safeguarding our planet, including by breaking our addiction to fossil fuels and kickstarting the renewable energy revolution. And by finally balancing the scales of opportunity and freedom for women and girls and ensure human rights for all. As we mark UN Day, let us renew our hope and conviction in what humanity can achieve when we work as one in global solidarity.
Very nice video by the Secretary General of the United Nations. We can now start the panel with Professor Massimo Introvigne, founder of the Center for Studies of New Religions in Turin and editor-in-chief of Bitter Winter Human Rights Magazine. Massimo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alessandro, and I hope you can hear me. While we celebrate the United Nations Day, I would like to remember the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, and particularly one of his books, Zum ewigen Frieden, Perpetual Peace, which is the book where the idea of a society of nations was introduced for the first time. And Kant was suspicious of all utopias of world government and rather preferred a society of independent national states. I would say there are four main reasons to commemorate Kant's book today. The first is that perpetual peace includes a list of what should not be done to achieve international peace, and this list is extraordinarily modern. Kant recommended not to sign treaties if you had the idea of not respecting them, not to interfere by force, he wrote, with the government of another state, not to occupy territories legitimately belonging to another country, and in the case of war, quote, not to permit such acts of hostility which will make mutual confidence in the subsequent peace impossible, including the killing of civilians, torture, and rape. Very actual. The second point is that Kant was born, died, and lived in Königsberg, a quintessentially German city and a symbol of the German culture. But in 1945, as part of the treaties following World War II, Königsberg, with the name of Kaliningrad, became an exclave of the Soviet Union, and an exclave is a part of territory which belongs to a state, but does not have a border with the rest of that state. So Kaliningrad today is an oblast or a Russian province, but doesn't border with any other Russian province. Its borders are with Poland and Lithuania. And the presence of a Russian oblast with heavily armed Russian soldiers, many believe even with nuclear weapons, nested in the middle of the European Union is, of course, and more so today, a cause for widespread concern. The city of Kant was Russified after World War II. The German language and symbols gradually disappeared. In fact, Kant's grave still exists in a very simple form in a portico on the northeastern side of the cathedral, although in 2018 it was attacked by Russian nationalists who were anti-German. A legend even claims that the remains of Kant are no longer there because Soviet soldiers took them away and dispersed them when they entered the city in 1945. But that may be just a legend, and anyway, we cannot know for sure. But what we know is that Kant's grave is as much a hostage to dictators than is his project of a society of nations really effective in protecting world peace. The third reason to remember today Kant's book is that he proposed that the society of nations should only include republican states. By republican states, it doesn't mean republics. Republikanisch for Kant meant a representative government with a clear distinction between legislative and executive power. So it didn't propose to exclude the United Kingdom because it had a king rather than having a president of the republic. But he proposed to exclude non-representative regimes. Republikanisch was something less than modern democracy, but certainly it will exclude totalitarian regimes. And as we know, today, the fact that in the United Nations there are totalitarian regimes such as China or Russia is perhaps needed, somebody would say, but it's certainly an obstacle to the functioning of the United Nations. Fourth, Kant believed that world peace was possible only if the enlightened elites in each country will work hard to promote conscience. Without conscience, there will be no peace, no matter how much efforts diplomats can make. Now, conscience is, as those who have studied his philosophy in schools know, is the key concept for Kant. I'm not sure that Kant's notion of conscience was the same as Dr. Hong's and Taiji Men, because Kant's notion of conscience was deeply rooted in a Protestant sense of guilt and sin, and Kant saw conscience more as an inner tribunal or court delivering a verdict of guilt for the bad actions we have performed. But what remains valid in Kant's book is the general idea that there is a necessary connection between peace and conscience. Personally, I disagree with many features of Kant's philosophy, but perhaps his idea of a society of nations is less naive than many that prevail today, because many believed that including totalitarian and ferociously repressive states in the United Nations and even in the Security Council with veto power would appease them, but that did not happen. And also the part of Kant's project where peace was connected with conscience is often dismissed, so say that's just a philosopher, you know, philosopher use a certain rhetoric, but in fact, the connection between peace and conscience was the key to the book. So restoring the appeal to conscience as the lost part, so to speak, of Kant's project for a perpetual peace is precisely what Dr. Hong and Taiji Men are doing. It's what they propose with their campaigns for war, peace, and love, and the movement for of an era of conscience. And as Dr. Hong said more than once, this connection between peace and conscience, it's also the only credible recipe to make the United Nations work. Of course, when you propose these projects, you don't only make friends. These projects have many opponents. The corrupt bureaucrats and those who do not fully accept democracy will not sympathize with campaigns reconnecting conscience and peace, because this project will generate citizens, in fact, world citizens. There is an association of world citizens, and also the expression world citizen comes from Kant and was used first in perpetual peace. They say this project will generate world citizens with a habit of thinking independently. And this is one of the reasons why Dr. Hong and Taiji Men were always harassed and discriminated by rogue bureaucrats and politicians of dubious democratic credentials. But this is also the reason why those who share the noble ideal of world peace through conscience should support Dr. Hong and Taiji Men. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Massimo, for your review and analysis, also from this interesting perspective. We can now give the floor to the next speaker of the panel for today's webinar, Mr. Thierry Val. Mr. Thierry Val is Director of the Coordination of Associations and Individuals for Freedom of Conscience, which is a United Nations accredited organization and is connected from France. Please, Thierry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, everybody. 77 years ago, the United Nations was born up in a wake of war. Since then, the international communities has progressively developed and defined international human rights law. The founding documents in this respect are the Charter of the United Nations, 1945, and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948. Today, the main definitions of human rights are contained in the Declaration, 9 fundamental international human rights treaties, and 9 optional protocols. The work of the United Nations on human rights is largely largely within this normative framework. The treaties are central to the work and activities of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights at national, regional, and international levels. Today, the United Nations is being questioned by new environmental challenges, the emergence of new powers that want to impose their vision of human rights, such as China. Also, it signed the UN Charter in 1945, and all confrontations that were thought to be over, such as the East-West conflicts with the war in Ukraine. But it is precisely for such circumstances that the United Nations was created. From the day of its creation, the United Nations has had to face these challenges year after year. In 1946, the issue of the atomic weapons. In 1947, the question of the partition of Palestine between Jews and Arabs was one of the first major issues of the United Nations. In 1950, a resolution to forcefully support South Korea against the invasion of the North. I could go on and on as long as the list of challenges of the UN has faced over the past 77 years. As I said in my introduction, during these same years, the United Nations has established treaties to define human rights and that allow us as civil society to challenge the international community on human rights violations through the various UN instruments. As an NGO, in addition to monitoring and reporting on human rights violations, we contribute through our actions to the fundamental goals of the UN Charter, which are to maintain peace and security in the world, to develop friendly relations between nations, to achieve international cooperation in all matters where it may be useful and promoting respect for human rights, to be a center where the efforts of nations are aligned in common objectives. Choose a coalition of organizations, including CEP Freedom of Conscience, has been created in order to help further the cause of Taiji men and to report to the United Nations of the numerous violations of their fundamental freedoms of which they are victims. At the same time, Taiji men followers are organizing peace initiatives such as the commemoration of the 21st anniversary of 9/11, where they held World Peace and Love bells ringing ceremonies in California to pray for the world, and the 2022 World Leaders Summit for Love and Peace and the International Love and Peace Ceremony. These peace initiatives are important, and more than ever, we need to bring the value and principle of the UN Charter to live around the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thierry. We now have the next speaker, Mr. Willy Fautré. Willy is the co-director, director and co-founder of Human Rights Without Frontiers. Willy is connected from Belgium. Please, Willy, the floor is yours.
Mute. Okay, thank you for your introduction. I must first apologize about my voice because I got a very severe cold beginning of this week, and for several days I was absolutely voiceless, which is really a tragedy when we claim to be the voice of the voiceless. So I was one of those voiceless, but in a different way. First, I will make a small introduction to this session that is usually devoted to victims and also disease, and sometimes they are both. And then afterwards, after that introduction, I will give the floor to a first victim and then to the disease, and in between there will be a video. Since its inception, the United Nations have endeavored to promote peace between the nations, the peoples, and the people. Working for peace is a daunting task and challenge because it can never be granted forever. The famous promise, never again, proclaimed after the Second World War, is unfortunately more a wish than a reality. Putin's war on Ukraine is the most recent and tragic example of the comeback of crimes against humanity, war crimes, and barbarity on our continent. Internal conflicts and wars between neighboring countries do not suddenly break out from a vacuum, as it can be seen in Ethiopia or in Ukraine. They are often the results of ongoing tensions deeply rooted in history or in conflicting and even aggressive narratives. The wars in the Balkans after the collapse of the Yugoslav Federation in the 1990s were the last example of it in the 20th century. National, ethnic, linguistic, and religious identities exacerbated by biased and inflammatory narratives in the political discourse and the public discourse, in the media, and in school education, as well as territorial claims, were at the heart of massacres perpetrated for several years in former Yugoslavia. The war between Azerbaijan and Armenia in 2020 is another example of the dramatic consequences of long-standing violent rhetoric grounded in irredentist nationalism. Dr. Hong has put in place an academy, which is a tool aiming at preventing hatred between individuals, conflicts between peoples, and wars between countries. His work is a generous contribution to the peace objectives of the United Nations and deserves to be highlighted as an example to be followed in other countries, in other geopolitical contexts, and also in other cultures. And I think now that we could have the video that had been planned to be shown.
The fairies are spreading blessings to the world with various instruments and flowers from heaven. The dragon and peacocks are celestial creatures in ancient legends bringing good luck and blessings in the chaotic times. On October 16th, Taijimen Qigong Academy hosts an international ceremony for love and peace, which gathers more than 5,000 people in the National Taiwan University Sports Center and 20,000 participants online to pray for world peace. People from 108 countries have supported the activity. An ancient ritual of blessing ceremony is performed to send messages to heaven that humans repent their sins, make commitment to do good deeds, and pray for mercy from heaven. The organizer Taijimen Qigong Academy hosts this ceremony at this critical moment to consolidate wishes for peace and encourage everyone to put their words into actions.
Thing is because we're all world citizens, and as we face the daunting challenges ahead of us, it's very important that we come together and congregate all of our positive energies. And within the moment, the 60 seconds of prayer for peace, it could be carried out into energy for the rest of 2022. What started as a great start today, but every single day we can carry out the positive energy to the end of 2022 and even over to 2023. And so we hope that with the positive energy that we can feel, with the sincerity, even like a smile during the day or a hug to cheer us up, that we can turn these powerful wishes, turn these words into action.
Dr. Hong Daozi, president of the organizer, delivers an opening speech and proclaims October 16th World Prayer Day.
此刻便是关键时刻。现在本人宣告，每年的今天10月16日为世界祈福日，纪念全球共同凝聚为世人祈福的心意，以诚敬之心向上苍祈求祝祷，并承诺愿尽一己之力， 汇聚众人的良心善念，让灾祸远离，战争止息，疫病消除。
Over 20,000 participants, both on-site and online, recite a prayer and conduct 1-minute silence together, including representatives of different religions and several ambassadors and representatives from embassies to Taiwan.
Ambassador and Dean of Diplomatic Corps in Taiwan ROC also joined the prayer.
That peace and love has to begin with you, the individual, and then emanate and then go out, okay? The opportunity for it to become a reality increases. So right now, in my job as an ambassador here in Taiwan, everything I do has to be done with the awareness of love and care for people. People have to come first.
The ceremony is followed by several cultural performances that encourages people to follow their conscience and do good deeds. The youngest performer is 7 years old. The chorus, singing a song, Calling of Conscience, encourages people to love yourself and the people around so that a sustainable future will be possible by our joint efforts.
，Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really an impressive ceremony visually, but what matters more than what is visual is the message coming from the hearts and the minds and going to the minds and the hearts of other people. And now we will start with our first speaker, Mr. Ye Yangchun, biotechnology expert, who will share his experience with the Taxation Bureau in Taiwan.
在2000年的时候开发出了生物晶片的技术，也就是说，一片晶片可以诊断出一个人的疾病出来，所以当时是一个非常高的一个技术，高门槛的技术，然后不管在国外或者是台湾都非常的热门。那2000年左右，我因为在美国学会了这整套的技术之后，然后我想把它带到台湾来，所以我就在2000年加入了台湾的一家公司，然后把这个技术整套技术带回来台湾，希望增加台湾的竞争力。经过了公司的董事会开会同意了，请了台湾4大会计师之一做了签证，然后也给了经济部去许可了。这些应走的流程，通通走过了，然后我因此而拿到了所谓的技术股 ，OK。但是在2年后，因为我转让了一些所谓的技术股票给其他的人，我就写了一封信给国税局说，我拿到了这些技术股，然后我转让了一些股票，我应该怎么样处理我的税务问题？然后大概1年半之后，国税局又回函，他就说这个不叫做技术股，这叫做薪资所得，好，然后整个我就愣住了哈，因为薪资所得，他就把我领的技术股全部转换成现金，也就是大概1000多万的现金，然后用薪资所得的比例，也就是40%来扣。然后就是要我补400多万的税，那我当时就愣住了，说我大部分的股票也没有卖掉，没有转让掉，所以我哪里有400多万可以缴税？然后我就拿着这个东西，我就跑去跟经济部讲，说经济部，你当时候是核可我是技术股的，是你们先核可的因为当时的增资是用技术股的方式来增资的，我的部分 ，OK， 然后因为撤掉了，所以就接下来后面 公司有几次的增资，因为前面增资的股数撤掉了，所以后面的股数也跟着通通都不一样，所以整个都撤掉了，所以最后那家公司就倒掉了哈，就瓦解了，就没有了。直到现在，我知道还蛮多跟我类似的人在受苦受难中哈。那当然，这些人他们的欠税或者是其他的政府的不公义的事情，并不是我们造成的，其实是政府的官员造成的。我真的希望说，台湾的政府能够好好的思考这个问题。毕竟我们大部分的人，好像我这样回台湾来，我们都希望台湾好，都希望台湾更有竞争力在国际上。那我们不是故意要逃税，我们没有这个念头的。所以我觉得，台湾政府的确是应该再需要更大的改革。然后我也期望目前还在受苦受难的朋友能够坚持下去。
Thank you very much, Mr. Ye Yang-chun. Your testimony is in fact very precious. You are an honest businessman. You don't want to cheat with the tax administration. You tried to consult the Taxation Bureau to know how to pay your taxes. And you only got a first answer 18 months later. And what an answer. That your technology stock was to be converted into a salary income and to be taxed as such, which means 40%. 40% from 10 million, which means 4 million. And of course, your company went bankrupt. And you're not the only victim of the Taiwanese tax administration. We will now have a second speaker, Kokao Lu, former optical application engineer in a US company. The floor is yours, Mrs. Kokao Lu.
Thank you, Willie. And hello to all the participants and online pals. This is Coco, and it's an honor to be here today to talk about the internationalizing of the Taijimen case. I really like this quote from the UN Charter that universal access to information is a cornerstone of healthy and inclusive knowledge societies, and everyone has the right to seek, receive, and impart information. The Taijimen case reflects many aspects of governmental malpractices, and this international example can be utilized as a local reference for countries as one world family to recognize the gravity of the situation and abolish their uncivilized management in time. This process is identical to how the world is attempting to promote human rights without borders. If I just had been to Taiwan, I might have felt that Taiwan is a free and democratic country. We may talk about the government and even comment on it without fear. Much like when I was studying abroad and a group of us international students got together to debate the benefits and drawbacks of our own country. But over the years, the more I have taken to the street to express our demands for the 1219 Taijimen case, or join the march of over 10,000 people, the less I felt the same way. It turns out that Taiwan's democracy symbol is nearly empty. We can apply for the protest activities, but no domestic news media dare to cover our demand actions at Katagalan Boulevard and many other cities. Why? It's also ironic that the second International Anti-Corruption Review Conference, organized by the government, which concerned all taxpayers, was not open and did not allow taxpayers to participate in the review process. Many absurd limits like these make democratic justice seem to be dismantled and hierarchized and has become unlike anything else. So I often think that when a country's democracy is stuck in a cul-de-sac, it means that the ruling team is not robust enough to support the substance of democracy, nor is it capable of examining or look ahead to the greater losses it may have to undergo in the future. At first, I always felt that the government was not doing enough to address the problem. However, I would now disappointedly say that the government will never put any effort into eliminating the tax grievance maker, because no one is truly committed to taking on the accountability and being willing to admit failings, face them, and rectify them. All of those who enter this system sink one by one under the corrupt and unwritten rules, unable to clearly tell right from wrong. And the entire population is the largest victim of such an operation system. This reveals that Taiwan citizens and government are not heading in the same direction. So sadly, the law-abiding Taiwanese are unaware of the greedy black hole that lies underneath the attempt to pay taxes, which is always filled with discontent. The bully will find numerous arguments to rationalize the bullying behavior, and those in authority positions even mislead the public and refuse to allow others to interfere and basically want you to disappear. The state-level bullying, as I witnessed in the Taijimen case. And when exactly can the public voice be turned around? And I can hear such a comment regarding the Taijimen case with certainty. Oh, that's the government's problem. People say that in a democratic era, you're still the boss of the day, at least in the election that day. I feel as if I'm living in the Middle Ages when the monarch itself is the law and there is not even a single day of democracy. What we believe is our choice is not at all our choice. I need to be cautious at work and in my life. I'm hesitant to tell how much positive strength and transformation joining Taijimen Qigong has given me in my life. Because I'm so concerned people around me are distorted by media information. We as Shifu and Dizhi have suffered a lot from of misunderstanding and aggression, but we turn around and still try our best to uplift others and the world with smiles and positive energy. It was tough for me at first to switch between the two extreme modes. But after later, I learned there are all kinds of people, those who praise, those who support, and others who look on indifferently on the road to reform. And I can choose not to let other people's behavior define my views, actions, and values. I trust the findings of my own personal experience and observation. No matter what, the truth will not change as long as the official's conscience wakes, and the innocence will be returned to Taijimen. My Shifu told us to be disciplined, to always reflect on our mistakes, to live on our values with a heart for others and our nation, and to be grateful and give back to society. Taijimen Dizhi are like seeds, applying the wisdom they have gained in all areas to bring about a better atmosphere and approach. So we practice and we are proud and happy to do so. This is also the part where I have grown the most during the last 10 years of practice. In dealing with situations, my perspective has changed significantly. I used to be prone to criticize others from my own point of view, but doing so has no good impact on progress and only ended up making each other upset. Now, when I find myself complaining, I first check inwardly what kind of experience or state of mind drives me to feel offended and unsatisfied. And instead, I take steps to be in others' shoes and try to express myself, my thoughts in a no blame manner. So, by understanding that everyone grows up with mistakes, I'm thankful to my willingness to venture out of my comfort zone to improve and stop focusing on other people's flaws. So now I've learned to be more tolerant of others' circumstances and to accept their immaturity as a result of lack of experience. So apparently, humans cannot learn without making mistakes. That is, we live with them. However, we can learn and grow from those mistakes, as well as repair and innovate. The same metaphor is used to imagine government administration. Given that we all have good and evil human nature, regardless of skincare or ethnicity, the faults of history are the mistakes of mankind as a whole, both in the past and in the present. It would be a better idea to review it humbly with examples from the global arena, because avoiding history will not erase the fact, but it will allow the humanity to evolve by honestly mirroring mistakes. That's why I'm here today. I do not want Taiwan, my homeland, to become a democracy in which all that glitters is not gold. Although there is still a long and bumpy road to travel from here to utopia, I will keep working hard in the hopes that more people will look worldwide, act with conscience, and become increasingly aware so that they can exert their influence collectively. I pray with all my heart. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Coco Lu. You started with a quote, a quote from the UN Charter that universal access to information is a cornerstone of healthy and inclusive knowledge societies. And everyone has the right to seek, receive, and impart information. And you rightly pointed at the fact that something is rotten in the Taiwanese democracy. A first concrete example is that the second International Anti-Corruption Review Conference, organized by the government, which concerned all taxpayers, was not open to them, did not allow taxpayers to participate in the review process. A second example is that when you organize protest activities, and no domestic news media there to cover your demand actions. And your conclusion is that Taiwan's democracy is nearly empty and is stuck in what we call in French, and it's the same in English, probably with different pronunciation, and is stuck in a cul-de-sac, which means in fact a dead end. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. And I will now give the floor to Dr. Claire Lowe, the Institute of Biomedical Sciences, Academia Sinica Postdoctoral Fellow. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone, I'm Claire. Today I would like to share my experience from Taijimen. I'm lucky and happy since I grew up in Taijimen, practice Qigong and spirituality. My Shifu, Dr. Hong Daozi, guided me how to conduct myself with wisdom through both words and simple, whether it's the conversation between Shifu and leaders from all walks of life in various countries, or the greetings with the homeless people on the roadside. Shifu's spirit of equality and great love has always inspired me. In every conversation with people, communicating with a sincere heart will make people feel warm and happy, which created an atmosphere of peace. We believe that cultural exchange motivated by love can promote world peace, which is our common belief. It also reveals that culture is people-oriented and is the sum of human lifestyles, and that a culture founded on conscience and love is a foundation of global peace and sustainability. The experience of visiting overseas for cultural exchange with Shifu has not only improved my life, but also has made me appreciate the value of love more. In 2018, the remarkable Love and Peace Promotion Action went to the Middle East, Bahrain. The ceremony of ringing the bell of world peace and love was conducted at the hall of the Bahrain National Theatre. Shifu led us to pray for the world. People awaken their conscience, may love and peace spread, and the world united. At this ceremony, we met a minister of culture from Mali. We asked her, "What do you do to realize love and peace in your everyday life?" And she said that for her experience, she has many serve of culture. Only culture is the mean to get to peace and love. Its military ways have been there for years, but culture has been there for life ever since the world was created. So many military will come after the cultural way, so the only way for us to get peace and love in the world is to culture. Yes, a country peace and the world stability are the result of everyone's efforts, and this is the act that reflect the good nature of the world's citizens. Global solidarity and cooperation is the opportunity to move toward world peace and achieve the purpose of the goal of the United Nations establishment. I believe the world will be peaceful as long as everyone believes in replacing force in power with culture in their words, putting people first and respecting human rights. Until now, I have been praying for the world every day, assisting and collaborating with others in my everyday life, and working cheerfully, hoping to inspire the people and let the power of kindness to flow throughout the world. However, there are numerous visible or silent fights for dominance in world today's globe. These acts for selfish gain usually result in the death of many innocent individuals. As global citizens, it is our responsibility to rise up and preserve them. Although we cannot directly prohibit the war marcher from ending the war in this moment, we can begin by changing ourselves, doing good things from time to time, keeping peace around our lives, spreading good things all over the world, and activating the butterfly effect of kindness. It can only get better. United Nations Day, like this year's theme of building back together for peace and prosperity, is a symbol of hope for global unity. Back in Taiwan, I hope that our nation will be prosperous, strong, joyful, and that good education and culture will help the country's continuous production. However, a faulty system, on the other hand, is as scary as war, because it is an act that affects innocent people and even lives. A land of Taijimen that my Shifu had planned to build as a practice place for Dizi was illegally taken by a few illegal officials. They not only took away a land, but they also took away the people's dignity. They also took away the most valuable human rights in a demonstrated democracy, freedom of belief and culture, and trapped the national government in harsh and unfair actions. These experiments taught me directly that the government official may easily destroy everything for people. The Taiwan's government understands the Taijiman case was fabricated from the start. The Taijiman operate in compliance with the law. However, the government conduct the arrogant and illegal actions of the few corrupt officials and continue to plunder the people's basic human rights, property rights, cultural rights that have attracted the attention of scholars, experts both at home and abroad. And they have come out one after the other to speak out against injustice. Dr. Massimo Introvigne said that the Taiwan's government misunderstood the Taijiman case. This is a human rights persecution case based on religion freedom, not demonstrate or test case. Indeed, the Taijiman case came from nothing. Those in authority not only failed to follow the law, but also made errors. The government's actions significantly breached the international covenant on human rights and constitution. It has been more than 25 years after the tragedy, and no judicial officials to face the deal with the faults done by previous administration with conscience, but alone work with evil. In short, the Taijiman case is the result of public authority hubris. British Prime Minister William Gladstone in the 19th century had said that we took forward to the time when the power of love will replace the love of power. Then will our world know the blessing of peace. This long-awaited sentence has yet to be fulfilled more than 150 years later. I hope that we as global citizens will work together to transform the environment we live in where good interaction, proper acts, and conscience. Although Taijiman has been subject to human rights violation for over 25 years, Shifu's love for word have never changed. A culture of peace and conscience, as well as community to promote legal and future change, as well as human rights education. Even in the face to those who harass Taijiman, Shifus teach us to use various methods to tell them what to do in the hope that the bad people will actually awaken their conscience and become good people. Awakening everyone's conscience is the true approach to cure the main cause. Everyone is necessary, whether a government official or a commoner. In guarding conscience, comply with the law, respect human rights, understanding and tolerance one another, so that high quality, global student and excellent culture will jointly construct a love and pure world for the whole aim. Finally, I would like to encourage everyone to commemorate the United Nations Day today in response to the World Prayer Day. In declaration of World Prayer Day, to encourage the people of the world to collectively pray for themselves, others in the world, to restore their inherently pure hearts, to pray with their conscience, to do good deeds with sincere heart, and to pray for the cessation of wars, for the end of epidemic and disease, for the safety of everyone, for world peace, and for the coexistence and prosperity of all, so that the positive energy in the universe will lead the Earth to the path of sustainable development. I believe that the significance of World Prayer Day may inspire the people's conscience and help the United Nations achieve its goals. When everyone discovers their pure hearts, praying for the world with their conscience, and makes reforms, I believe the world will be able to achieve peace. The only way to get the other side of peace quickly is for everyone's conscience to be awakening. Let us work together to spread love, change the world with love. Light of love, light of hope for our world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire Lou. You said many interesting things. And for example, that the experience of international cultural exchanges with Dr. Hong, which was your personal experience, can make the disease life more fulfilling and more aware of the importance of love. Your trip to Bahrain, where you held the World Love Peace Bell ceremony in the hall of the National Drama Theatre, is just one example. And the message was then well received by Bahrain's Deputy Prime Minister, as he said in an interview, and I quote, I hope to work together through cooperation between countries, people, and religions to realize their hopes, unquote. And peaceful relations between religious communities in this regard are indeed very important. And a last quote that I would like to stress as well, that impressed me, is that you said that the power of love has been replaced by the love for power, unfortunately, for our planet and for humankind. And now I will give the floor to Claire Liang, a master's student and a disease.
Hello, everyone. I'm Claire, and I'm a master student. I'm glad to be here with you on United Nations Day to discuss the Taijimen case. I grew up in Taijimen. It's like my second home. There are many elders who take care of me and many good friends. I learned a lot in Taijimen. I know what gratitude is, so I have a good relationship with my family. I also know what is mutuality, respect, and tolerance, so I have a lot of good friends around me. Under Shifu's teaching, I know how to distinguish between right and wrong. Do not fail to commit an act of kindness just because it is small, and do not commit an evil act just because it is small. Since I was a child, I have often seen Shifu leading my brothers and sisters around the world to promote love, peace, and conscience. Many heads of state and important people ringing the bell of world peace and love, and expressing their views and wishes for love and peace. And seeing pictures of people from all over the world with different races and colors smiling brightly. At that time, I knew that Shifu was leading us to do something very important. In this Chaktic society, we spread the seeds of love and hope around the world. After I grew up, I finally had opportunity to follow Shifu to other countries, and I understood Shifu's greatness more deeply. In addition to the world, we have held many events in Taiwan, such as the signing of the Declaration of Human Rights and the Declarations of Conscience. Also participated in some Nation Day performances. All these activities are done by our brothers and sisters with their own time and money. Which group in the world can do this? Only we can, because we love the world and we love our countries. However, it is unacceptable that such a beautiful and important place to me has been persecuted by a few illegal officials of the government for 26 years. Today is United Nations Day, the anniversary of the proclamation of the United Nations. The theme is the maintenance of international peace and security, the development of friendly relationships among nations, and the promotion of international cooperation in the economic, social, cultural, and human welfare fields. On these days, it is a good time to discuss international perspectives related to the Tiananmen case. The government of the Republic of China was established in accordance with the Constitution and the three principles of democracy. The former positioned the country as a democratic republic of the people, by the people, and for the people, while the later proposed nationalism, civil rights, and people's livelihood. The Constitution defines Taiwan as a democratic country, so the government should serve the people and put the people first. However, such an unbelievable case of officials persecuting people for their own benefit occurred. The government used tax to persecute us. They create fake cases to impose tax on us, which shouldn't exist. They issue tax bills for 6 years. Although we won the case by court decision, they only revoked 5 of them. This is really ridiculous, and it's very obvious that they are malicious. They even confiscated our property and auctioned our land. During the initial investigation, they even restrict the freedom of some of our neighbors, imprisoned them and threatened them, and abused the media to discredit us, causing many of our neighbors suffering serious physical and psychological harm. This could be called like a joke in the international arena, but it really happened in Taiwan, a country known for its democracy. The unscrupulous officials said we were cramming classes, but according to the law and the facts, we were not a cram school. We certainly do not accept. We tried all the way to clear ourselves, getting justice back. In addition to the litigation, we also raised signs and marched on the streets, telling the people of Taiwan that they must face up to the problems of the tax code and not let more people suffer. Every year, we march and hold advocacy activities on Kaidagalan Road in front of the presidential palaces, shouting the truth there. I can't understand why the government can still be indifferent and not respond to us when they saw us. In one of the sign-holding actions, the police even arbitrarily and illegally detain people. From the childhood textbooks, it is clear that the police should protect the people, but now under the unlawful bureaucratic practice, they have become helpers of government to harm the people. Although we tried so hard and tried to believe that the government would return justice to us, what we got is that the tax bill is still not lifted and the sacred land being auctioned off. But we still won't give up because we love our country. So we are still working hard and hope the world will notice us too. The Tiananmen case is definitely not an isolated case. Not to mention that even in a democratic country, such serious human rights persecution can occur, and there must be more victims around the world. Only if we all take this issue seriously that we can make more thorough reforms and make the world less prone to this persecution of religious freedom and human rights. We call on everyone to be conscience aware and to take conscience as the basic for all things. We will realize the wish that if everyone has a conscience, the world will be peaceful and everyone will be happy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire Young. You said that Taiwanese constitution defines the country as democratic. It means that the government should serve the people and put the people first. But this is not what is happening as officials and bureaucrats persecute groups like Taijimen for their own personal benefit through the bonus mechanism of the taxation system. Your conclusion is that fighting and resisting against this injustice is the only way to move forward successfully. And internationalizing the Taijimen case is part of this strategy. And now I will give the floor to Kevin Lin, Project Management Director in an IC design company.
Okay, thank you, Willie. Hello, everyone. It's a great honor to join you today in response to the United Nations Day. Due to the global shortage caused by the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, Taiwan's semiconductor industry has taken the center of the world stage, and the world start to realize that Taiwan plays a pivotal role in the world economy. Can you imagine the key to peace between Taiwan and the mainland China is actually focused on TSMC? A company's operation can affect the world. In the globalized world today, regional conflicts are not limited to regions, and the Russia-Ukraine war has not only affected Russia and Ukraine, but the people's livelihood and economy of the world have been severely affected. United Nations Day commemorates the third anniversary of the entry into force of the United Nations Charter and remind people the aims and achievements of the United Nations. As United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres' 2021 message, the values that have powered the UN Charter for the last 76 years, peace, development, human rights, and opportunity for all, have no expiry date. The international community should be concerned about human rights issues out of conscience and demand improvement through various means. The human rights issues in Tibet and Hong Kong are the best examples. Therefore, I would like to echo the theme of today's webinar, internationalizing the Taijimen case, to talk about why the international community should be concerned about the Taijimen case. I've joined Taijimen to practice Qigong for 27 years. I was not a healthy kid when I was young. I got colds all year round and had chronic gastroenteritis. Also, I suffer from insomnia as I study for my master's degree. I can imagine how I would survive in the workplace if I hadn't joined Taijimen. Through practicing Qigong, I learned to relax my body and mind. Thus, I can sleep well, my physical strength has greatly improved, and I further realized that the mind is the key to everything. What I learned most is the positive thinking and the wisdom of balance. Thus, I could see things in different points of view and find a key to balance different sides. It's really helpful to my career. No matter what kind of challenge I face, I could always find a way to solve it. Taijimen is the place to refuel my energy. And I also find the answer to the problem which bothers me from childhood. What's the meaning of life? It turns out I could have energy to help the people around me. This made me feel warm and happy from heart, and it makes my life more valuable. Shifu also opened my mind and vision so I could bring love and care to the world and stop setting my own limit. For all Taijimen deeds, what happened on December 19, 1996 is a pain in our hearts. This event has huge impact on my life. I was proud that Taiwan is a free and democratic country with the rule of law, and I trusted our judicial system. But this event made me realize that there is a huge gap between the truth and my imagination. The prosecutor may not stand for the justice. What media report may not be the truth. The Taijimen I know is totally different from what the media reported at that time. I understand what smear is, and the prosecutor every day on the media to speculate on a variety of investigation-related information. I realized that the presumption of innocence and the principle of secret investigation are just slogans. I realized that these things actually play out every day, but when the protagonists are not us, I turn a blind eye. It's a lesson accumulated with blood and tears under people's strange and suspicious eyes. My family and my best friend left Taijimen. My family, who trust me very much before even question why I insisted to stay at Taijimen. They did not believe my choice. Shifu brings hope to my life. Shouldn't we protect justice at this moment? Why is it so difficult to do the right thing? At such moment, Shifu led us with wisdom to a path to set things right and personally practice the way to justice and righteousness. Shifu dashed away our tears, calm our hearts, let us go out, let the world know what Taijimen is and won the world's respect. For judicial system, we also prove that justice is on our side. On July 13, 2007, the Supreme Court found all the defendants of Taijimen case not guilty of fraud, tax evasion, or violation on tax codes. Shifu led the 4-part cultural goodwill delegation to travel across 5 continents, visiting 101 countries to promote a culture of conscience with love and peace, actively promoting world peace and winning many international friendship and praise. So far, 446 important leaders from 128 countries have rang the bell to make a wish, including 49 heads of state and 7 Nobel Peace Prize winners. Ringing the bell of world peace and love ceremony is carried out in a solemn ancient ceremony. The bell ringer make a peace wish with a pious heart, spread out with the sound of the bell, praying for all living beings, exerting their positive influence and contribute to world peace and sustainable development. Shifu cares about the safety of the world and always hope to seize every opportunity to awaken the conscience of the world, plant the seeds of kindness in the heart of every leader, and praise for the world in every time of crisis to stabilize people's hearts. I wonder how many people have missed the opportunity to join Taijimen, to change their lives because of the Taijimen case. However, the Taiwan government allowed the government system disregard people's human rights. From the beginning, the tax bill should not be valid. Why do the people need to run for 26 years under the incompetent administrative relief system? National Tax Bureau and the Administrative Enforcement Agency even ignore the Supreme Administrative Court judgment number 422 in year 2018, which clearly point out that 1992 tax bill was an incorrect tax bill. They still cooperate with the Administrative enforcement agency to auction the reserve site of the Taijimen practice place. Such obvious violation of human rights and the freedom of religious belief have not received justice for a long time. It shows that the government protection of human rights and freedom of religious belief is only superficial, and the people are deeply suffering. Therefore, international attention and support are urgently needed to solve Taijimen's suffering over a quarter of a century. And it is also a chance for other people who are also deeply involved in tax injustice to be rehabilitated. Finally, I would like to thank all the good friends who have worked side by side with us along the way. The world will be a better place because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Lin. Thank you very much. Internationalizing the message of peace and love spread by Taijimen is of utmost importance, as it is in line with the project of the United Nations. You recall that so far, 446 important leaders of 128 countries have rung the bell and made wishes, including several Nobel Peace Prize laureates. The bell ringing ceremony for better relations between peoples of the world is a sacred ancient ritual. And the bell ringer makes a wish for peace with a devout heart for heaven and earth as a blessing of all living beings. Such events are the vectors of the internationalization of the Taijimen case. And it is through the ringing of the bell that Dr. Hong awakens the conscience of the world, plants the seeds of goodness in the hearts of every leader. Thank you very much for your contribution to this debate. And now I will give back the microphone virtually, in fact, to Alessandro, as we have reached the end of this second session.
Thank you very much, Willie. Thank you, everyone, for the very interesting presentations, personal testimonies, and indeed insights and contributions and suggestions. We have a final message by Marco Respinti. Marco is editor in charge of Bitter Winter and a journalist based in Italy.
Thank you. It is my privilege now to offer some conclusions to this important webinar entitled United Nations Day, Internationalizing the Taijimen Case, which of course celebrates the United Nations Day. First, I thank the co-host, Tesnur of the Center for Studies on New Religion and Human Rights Without Frontier, or HRWF. For months, Chesnur and HRWF have been offering webinars in a series dedicated to the Taijimen case. One of the peculiarities of this series is that all webinars underlines a UN Day of Observance. This is very important for one main reason. In doing so, in linking the Taijimen case to the UN Days of Observance, we constantly internationalize the Taijimen case, not only today. What this series aims to is to bring international attention to a staggering case of injustice, and what more than calling for the UN's attention as much as possible. The UN are an important institution created for one major reason: to secure peace to the world after the horrors of World War II. Actually, after the horrors of two evil and incredible world wars, the UN is a noble reason and much needed. Did the UN succeed in their goal over decades? Frankly, no. Many wars, have taken place in many corners of the world, the UN's effort notwithstanding. But this is why the UN are still going, to always try to grant at least some degree of peace, its original goal. Mr. Thierry Val, the director of the Coordination des Associations Particulières pour la Liberté de Conscience in France, gave us an important summary of what the UN are, why the UN exists, and how they developed after 1945. Mr. Val also recalled the fundamental charters and treaties that the UN, not easily, approved over the years to bind all countries of the world, or as much of them as possible, to work toward peace. As Mr. Val reminded us that, I quote, a coalition of organizations, including CAF Freedom of Conscience, has been created in order to help further the case of Taiji men and to report to the United Nations on the numerous violations of their fundamental freedoms of which they are victims, end of quote. Now, we all know the UN's effort is not new. Today, Professor Introvigne, managing director of Cesner, reminded us of German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Remotely, Kant was one of the cultural fathers of the UN idea, chiefly and wittingly saying, quote, what should not be done if one really wants to promote peace, end of quote. But Kant's tip for universal peace had gone largely ignored in the 77 years of the UN existence. To show it, Professor Introvigne just needed to mention the aggression of Russia against Ukraine. Importantly, adding that, I quote, many believed that including totalitarian states and ferociously repressive regimes in the United Nations and even in the Security Council with veto power would eventually appease them. It did not happen. End of quote. It did not happen mostly because today's appeals to peace are seriously disconnected from Kant's call on the road of conscience, which instead is just what Dr. Hong Tao-tse and Taiji Men propose to do. Let me now underline the important roles today of two other persons, Dr. Alessandra Micarelli, President of the European Federation for Freedom of Belief in the UK, and Mr. Willy Faucret, Director and Co-founder of HRWF. They have graciously and intelligently opened our today webinar, and this is the case of Dr. Micarelli, and inaugurated its second session, and this is the case of Mr. Faucret. As usual, the second session of all our webinars welcome the direct testimonies of these or disciples of Taiji Men, who have witnessed and in many, many cases suffered the harassment of the corrupt branches and officials of the Taiwanese government, constantly being guilty only of being innocent. Testimonies of these are always rich and exemplary. Dr. Ye Yang-chun, a biotechnology expert, told us about the confusion that customarily reign in Taiwan on what is taxable and what is not, with dire consequences, a lot of scare and much suffering. Then Ms. Cocoa Lu, a former optical application engineer in a US company, concluded her speech saying, I quote, I do not want Taiwan, my homeland, to become a democracy in which all that glitters is not gold. Although there is still a long and bumpy road to travel from here to utopia, I will keep working hard in the hopes that more people will look worldwide, act with conscience, and become increasingly aware so that they can exert their influence collectively. I pray with all my heart. End of quote. Quite moving. Dr. Claire Lowe, a postdoctoral fellow of the Institute of Biomedical Sciences in Academia Sinica, quoted important words by the 19th century British Prime Minister William Gladstone, and I quote, When the power of love replaces the love of power, our world knows the blessings of peace, end of quote. Then Dr. Claire Law commented, quote, today, more than 150 years later, these words have been expected by the world have not yet been realized. And we hope that we, as citizens of the world, will work together through good interaction, right action, and good conscience. We change our environment and the current situation in the world. End of quote. In her turn, Ms. Kavian Lin, Project Management Director at IC Design Company, added that Taijumen Shifu, Grandmaster Dr. Hong, quote, is concerned about the safety of the world, always hopes to seize every opportunity to awaken the conscience of the world, plant the seeds of goodness in their hearts, in the hearts of every leader, and pray for the world's best blessing and peace of mind at every critical moment. I wonder, she says, how many people missed the opportunity to join Taijumen to change their lives because of this case. And this is very sad. Last but not the least, Ms. Claire Leong gave us another major gift today, saying, quote, the Constitution defines Taiwan as a democratic country, so the government should serve the people and put the people first. However, such an unbelievable case of official prosecuting people for their own benefit occur. The government uses taxes to persecute us. They use unreasonable and illegal reasons to impose high taxes on us. During the initial investigation, they even restrict the freedom of some of our members, imprison them and threaten them, and abuse the media to discredit us, causing many of our members suffering serious physical and psychological harm. End of quote. And we know this story. Time and again, we repeat it, and it's always new because it's very, very important to remind, and it's very, very sad to hear. The Taijumen case with all its suffering. How long, O Lord? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Says Psalm 13 in the English Standard Version of the Bible. Yes, on this United Nations Day, allow me also to caution all of us. Perfect peace on earth will never be attained. Perfection is in fact not human. It doesn't belong to this side of eternity. Many projects before the UN tried to achieve this noble goal. The ecumenical empires, to borrow a phrase from German-American political philosopher Eric Voegelin, tried to harmonize different people to grant a decent life through some degree of acceptable peace. It was the dream of Alexander the Great, the goal of the Holy Roman Empire, the ideal of the medieval Renovatio Imperii, or the renovation of political power according to a true Christian spirit, and the similar project of Monarchia Universalis, universal monarchy, between the 16th and 18th century. They all failed, because all human projects fail. At the end of the day, also the UN project will fail. But like its ideal predecessors, also the UN project will at the same time succeed. Because after all, it is not a matter of metrics and quantity, it is a matter of quality. If only for a moment, peace can be reached among people and nations, or at least sincerely desired, this whole project, including the UN's, wins. What is the reward? Showing that real historical peace among people and nations is possible through the core ingredient that Taijumen is trying to add to every project, conscience. As for the rest, quote, it is not our part to master all the tides of the world, wrote English philologist and man of letters J.R.R. Tolkien in his The Lord of the Rings. Again, quote, but to do what is in us for the succor of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have a clean earth to till. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Marco for his remarks, conclusions, and his whole message. As always, during our webinar, we will be concluding today's webinar with a video. At the end of the video, if anyone wants to say anything, just raise your hand for conclusions, or we will say just bye-bye, everyone.
Gospođe i gospodo, vrijeme istječe. Zaračene strane moraju sjesti za stol i dogovoriti se, jer nastavak ratovanja vodi našu planetu u kataklizmu.
من دعا میکنم که همه مردم دنیا از نعمت صلح برخوردار باشند و به یکدیگر عشق بورزند.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share about a subject that is of the highest value. Peace begins with the deepest intentions in our hearts. It has to come into action with the people we live with. It comes into action when we care about what brings them suffering and what brings them joy. Peace that's founded in those relationships and peace that's solid within our intentions can then spread to our communities and our nation. In our nation, especially in nations that have democracy, we have to put leaders in who truly care about peace with the natural world and peace with the entirety of the human family, because in today's world, neighborhood is a moral location. The climate is one. Pandemics show us that there's no borders and you don't carry passports. Nuclear weapons threaten everybody. So the local pursuit of peace is a global pursuit of peace. And the principle that brings that deep intention of peace into realization is the golden rule. When we care for others as we care for ourselves, when we see their lives as valuable, and we bring that intention into what we do and what we think, the treasure is a peace that surpasseth understanding. May that treasure of the peace of the soul, the peace that is the fulfillment of our human birth, the peace that allows us to have the ground in which wisdom can arise, be realized by us in this birth. That's God's gift to us, and peace is the way to peace. Thank you so much for focusing on this great, mysterious, and wonderful treasure.
Today is a glorious day in the history of Taiji men and in the history of global efforts for conscience, love, and peace. As a frequent travelers, we have often experienced night flights over sea or land that appear totally dark. Then all of a sudden a light appears. It may be a ship, a lighthouse, an isolated farm or government station in the middle of a desert or a steppe. This light makes all the difference in the world. The difference between one of the many planets with no inhabitants or life and our beautiful planet Earth where humans dwell. Two lights would be better, but one is enough. There is light here. The land is not waste and even the sea is one humans can navigate. These lights are not natural phenomena. They are there because women and men, sailors in a ship, workers in a remote station in the middle of nowhere, have switched these lights on. When the sea is dark, when the land looks like a desert, when the hearts tremble, when hope is almost lost, there is a small ship or a small home where the light is on. You, Dr. Hong, you, Taiji men, are offering to us that ship, that home, that light in the darkness. October 16th is the day to make that ship or that home our own and to give them names from our hearts, conscience, love, and peace. A day to live fully, a day to thank you, a day to pray, and from tomorrow, a day to remember forever. Happy Day of the Global Prayers for Love and Peace.
İnsanlık alemi zor günler yaşamakta. Savaşlar, istemsiz göçler, iklimin bize acımasızlığı ve bütün bunların karşısında yarınlarımızın güzel olması için dua edelim. Bilelim ki temiz kalple, bilelim ki iyi niyetle yapılmış dualar yarınlarımızın teminatı olacaktır. Güzelliklerimiz için, istikrar için, barış için, refahı birlikte bölüşmek için ve bizden sonrakilere daha güzel bir gezegen bırakabilmemiz için dua edelim. Dualarımızın iyiliklerle, güzelliklerle, hayırlara ulaşması temennisiyle amin diyorum. Amin.
Hello, it is my greatest honor to accept your invitation to join this global prayer for love and peace organized by the FOPA. Needless to say, the work your federation does and Dr. Hong being led by you, it's amazing, really needed. We really want to continue to work with you on creating a better world for everyone. Thank you very much from Europe. Thank you for all you do, and we wish you all the best.
Merhaba, ben Sezgin Bilgiç. Sizi Marmara Grubu Vakfı adına Doğu ve Batı'nın Köprüsü İstanbul'dan selamlıyorum. Dünya yine zorlu bir sınavdan geçmekte. Bu bir döngü ve maalesef biz insanlar öğrenmekte zorluklar çekiyoruz. Sınavlar, zorluklar, anlaşmazlıklar her zaman olacak. Ancak bunları daha az zararlı atlatabiliriz. Bunun yolu insanlar arasında diyaloğu arttırarak insanlar arasında anlayış, vicdan ve sevgiyi yaymaktan geçer. Hoşgörünün artması için, daha vicdanlı ve sevgi dolu bir insanlık için, kardeşlik ve insanların birlikteliği için yürekten dua ediyorum. Hepinizi sevgi ve saygıyla selamlıyorum.
A moment of silence, listening the heart, is helping us to see what we truly want and to reconnect with our essence. Thank you, Taiji Man, and thank you, Dr. Hong, for hosting this wonderful and much needed celebration of love, peace, and consciousness. May many more follow.
Hello, I'm Oğuzhan Ceylan from Turkey. Peace at home, peace in the world. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk.
Hello. Today, October 16, 2022, we celebrate the Day of Global Prayer for Love and Peace. Let's pray for love and peace in the world. May humanity, justice, peace and harmony be re-established on Earth, all around the globe, once and forever. May human rights and fundamental freedom become a reality worldwide. Let's make change happen from within ourselves, cultivating peace, advocating and practicing peace in our families, neighborhoods, workplaces, towns, cities, and at all levels. Let's remind ourselves also of our duties and obligations towards others and the future generations too. Finally, love, peace, and harmony will prevail. Amen.
I am very glad to join you in this important initiative of prayer worldwide for peace and love and harmony. This is very much needed in a time like this, in a world like this, which is forgetting frequently how human understanding, mutual human understanding, is important. And the power of prayer is universal, it's so strong. Never forget, live on prayer, live by prayer.
There is anyone? Or I can pass them.